Now let's have a look at some select statements that use text comparisons and use the and or keywords. So we have our previous select statement, and you can see in the previous select statements we are comparing on the item price, which is a numerical field. We also have the item number comparison, which is a text field, and we're using equality, but there are more text comparisons that can be quite useful. So we want to list all the items that have screen in the description. So we can say select star from item where item desk, which is the item description column, equals screen. Now you can see that this returns no result when I execute it, because what we want is not ones that have the item description equal to exactly screen. Instead, we want ones that have screen in the description anywhere, but they may have more description than just the word screen. We can use the keyword like. Like will do a comparison with this text, and it allows us to put in the percent sign as a wildcard. So wherever there is a percent sign in this, it will allow any other characters to appear as 0 or more. So what happens when we execute this? We may need a capital S because the words in the descriptions are capitalized. So we can see now we have two items, two rows have been returned, both because they contain the word screen. Okay, but what if we wanted to include items that had both a capitalized screen and a lowercase screen? Now we have a couple of options here. One option we can use is to capitalize the item description column before we compare it. So we can say upper, which is a function that will capitalize the column before we do the comparison. And then we can put our whole comparison in capitals. So upper item description is like screen, all uppercase. And you can see this returns the correct result. Now, because the select part, the columns are selected after the where clause is executed, this uppercasing is not applied to the columns that we're selecting out. It's only applied during the comparison. Now, what's another way we could have done this? Well, we can instead use the underscore character to represent any character. So we don't now need upper item desk. We can instead say any character, C-R-E-E-N, and this will match both capital S and lowercase s. So if we execute that, we can see that it returns the screen in both. Now, the downside to using this method is that the underscore will not just match a capital S and a lowercase s, it will match any character in the alphabet or any number. So we could see unexpected behavior with this version. With this next part, we want to list all items that have tube in the description. So the most reliable comparison we have is this uppercasing one. So let's take the statement where we're comparing the items that have screen in the description anywhere and change it to tube. And if we execute this one, we can see that we get some results. Thin tube and some other thin tube items, 5 of them. Our next item is to list the items that have either screen or tube in the description. And this is where we get into the OR statement. So if we take our previous query, where we were picking out items that have screen in the description, we can add in this OR keyword. What this is going to do is it's going to first run this comparison. So check whether the upper item description is like screen, and then it will run the second comparison. So we say OR upper item desk, like tube. So now either items that match screen or match tube will be returned. Let's have a look. You can see we get both the results for the screen and the tube now. Our next question here requests that we have all the items that have either tube or screen in the description and that cost more than $400. We can take our previous query as a starting point. Okay, so I'm going to put the logical statements on new lines to show these statements together. So we have select star from items where the item description is like screen or the upper item description is like tube. What we need now is an AND. So I'll add in an AND here and say item price is greater than 400. Now, looking at the results we have down the bottom, you can see that there is an item here, a row that is returned which has the item price of less than $400. This is not what we want. We only want items that cost more than $400. So what has happened here? What is happening is each row is compared in order through the list of logical statements. So you can see first the items are checked that they are like screen. And you can see that this row matches screen. So it's considered to be a matching row before the AND comparison is done. That is because this OR is true when the first part of it is true. And you can see that occurs for both the screens and then the tubes, however, are filtered because first they're not marked as equivalent to screen and then this block is executed. So they are compared to tube, which is true, and then the item price is checked. Now what we want is we want to break this into a logical distinction between the description comparison and the item price comparison. And for that, we can use the parentheses. So if I add a parentheses and then add a second parentheses to close it, what this will do is will force these two to be executed together first, and then the results of this logical block to be compared using the AND statement. So first the item will be checked if it matches screen or tube, and if either of those is true, this whole block will be considered true. Then the results of that will be checked as to whether the item price is greater than 400. So if we execute this, we can see now the results are filtered down to not include our screen that is less than $400.